Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the FlatBackFour Podcast. With me, your host, Annie Maguire. Joining me today is Scott Even, and we have a very, very special guest. We have Stenhousemuir CEO, Mr. Jamie Swinney. I just want to get that definitely right. Definitely Swinney. Jamie Swinney. Thanks for coming on, man. This is brilliant. This is going to be such a good insight. Firstly, before we actually get going, how is life for you in lockdown? What's the situation? Who are you in isolation with? Are you okay?
To answer those questions, yes, I'm okay. In isolation with my wife.
Cool.
However, as much as obviously lockdown has been tough, we're probably quite fortunate in terms of we are able to get out and about. You know, there's a lot of people that obviously have been completely confined to their houses. I've been out a lot because of the work the club's been doing. I've actually been out, on a daily basis, delivering lunches and so on. So, of course, it's been a challenge. I don't think anybody has particularly enjoyed the lockdown period, but I think it's what you make of it.
True, and it's been a lot of time for reflecting with a lot of people as well. And some people have taken up so much different stuff. Has isolation got you doing anything that you probably wouldn't do before?
Probably did a bit more reading, a bit more yoga, quite boring things to be honest with you. But you can't do a lot else. So
I've taken up running. I never thought I'd run. I mean, I like running at football, but I mean, I'm running. I mean, it's quite incredible. So just before pre-lockdown, obviously, Stenhousemuir, they were 8th, I believe. Is that right?
Correct.
And as the season, what was like the predicted? What was your target going forward for this season? What would have been a successful season for you guys personally?
So our season was a massive disappointment, to be honest with you. I've been in the role for just over 2 years. In that 2 years, we've had a promotion and a relegation. So I've experienced both. Went up and came straight back down again. This year, our ambition and the way we set the club up from the very beginning with a strong budget and the plans we've got in place behind the scenes, our ambition was to compete at the top of the league, and we absolutely failed to perform anywhere near the level that we had hoped as a board, and as I suppose the leadership of the club, we expected to do a lot better, and we had to change management. In November, it was late October, we made the decision to change management, and we did have a slight upturn in performance after January when we managed to bring some new players in, but it was and always will be remembered as a very disappointing season.
So for yourself then, is this the way that the season's finished now? Is it a good thing for you guys? Is it the respite maybe that you needed, or was it just get this season out of the way, regroup in the summer, and then go again next season?
Yeah, it's probably in two parts, and it's a good question. Part one is it was a very frustrating season. I did not enjoy it at all. We were 2 points off of bottom of the league on the 28th of December. I'm sure we lost at home to Stirling Albion, and we were 2 points off bottom of the league in Scotland. Now, for those that maybe don't know, that will be listening to this podcast, bottom of the league in Scotland, similar to England, there is the possibility of dropping out the professional football league, and for Stenhousemuir, it had been the first time in its history. It would have been an absolute catastrophe. So we had a genuine fear in November, December, that we could have been in a playoff to avoid dropping out the league. So the season will absolutely be remembered as one that was very frustrating, worrying. There was fear there, absolutely, and we had to take a lot of action in January to try and bring players in. So to try and answer your question, disappointed the way the season's ended, but it certainly it wasn't a season we were enjoying, and I think all we were trying to do was avoid relegation, and it looked like we're probably going to do that anyway. We managed to get ourselves a bit of a gap between ourselves and Brecon at the bottom of the league, but at the same time, it will always be remembered as a season that season to forget.
You mentioned there that obviously, like the Football League down in England, if you were to go out of the league, for a club your size, and the fact that that you've never been out of the league, the financial damage even for that league to drop down, what is the levels of that? Is if Mount Everest, what is that level of drop for a club like yourselves to go down and you're out with the actual leagues? Is that just an all over general hit of the club?
It would be absolutely huge. absolutely huge. I mean, obviously everything's relative. In Scottish football, the money is very different from English football. But if you take it in a relative capacity, the Scottish Professional Football League, all the money that comes in to the professional league is all in one pot, and every club from the top of the league in the Premiership, Celtic at the moment, all the way down to Brecon City in the 42nd place, you all get a share of the pot. And obviously the share that we receive is quite small, but it's vital money. Plus you've got the guarantee of being in the Betfred Cup. You enter the Scottish Cup at a round where you're not starting in the qualifying rounds and so on. Same with the Challenge Cup as well. You start, every single part of your business, if you like, would be affected. So not only would you lose all the league money, there's 1 year of parachute payment, so you get 1 year where you get something from the SPFL, then it would be zero after that if you didn't get back up. And then you've got all the other knock-on effects that we've just mentioned about where you are in cups, when you enter cups, not getting into cup qualification because you're no longer in the league, and then before you even start to look at gate receipts would be we take a real hit, not only from our own supporters but away supporters, and then you look at every single match day income from hospitality all the way through programme sales, bar sales, everything. So for a club like ourselves, it would be, it really would be an absolute, it'd be catastrophic, to be perfectly honest with you.
I mean, we're seeing actually the like you mentioned there about the people outside the ground selling. We're actually seeing, because of coronavirus, the effects of them not being able to trade. That is their livelihood and whatnot and stuff like that now. So, I mean, I can understand probably the knock-on effect, but we're seeing it now from the people that made the money on match days. You're on about the fans there, and I'm going to bring Scott in because, Scott, you released shares, and Scott, you bought shares, didn't you, in the club? So when did you buy shares in the club again?
It was about a month ago. I've got to be honest, Jamie. I think I followed Stenhousemuir on Twitter since probably about 2012, 2013. Yeah. And just from an outsider looking in, it's very much a community club. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
I think I've gone against the sort of trend of, the Rangers are the Celtic supporters. I think everybody in England's got a Rangers or a Celtic, background. But I've just followed Stenhousemuir, and I've just really enjoyed, the sort of interaction with the fans on Twitter. It just does seem like a real family club.
No, I mean, first of all, to get the opportunity to say, welcome to the club. I know we've shared emails back and forward, but it's great to welcome new shareholders. It really is, and we managed to sell all our shares, which for a club our size, we've got 10,000 shares in total. We had 670 left at the start of lockdown. They sell for £37.50 a share. We did not expect to sell them all, I'll be really honest. We just put them back on sale in the hope that we would generate some kind of money, given the fact that football was suspended on the 13th of March. We thought, even if we bring in £5,000, £10,000, it's it can make a difference. We actually sold every one of them, so that was £26,000. And I'll be honest, it was one of the most amazing parts of there have not been many positives in lockdown, but for me one of the highlights was seeing every single day emails come in from people all over the world, and I'm not exaggerating. People might laugh and think surely Stenhousemuir do not have shareholders all around the world. We've sent shares in the last 2 months all over the UK, so every country in the UK. We've sent them to Iceland, New Zealand, Australia, Holland, Germany, Denmark, America, Canada. So genuinely it is actually quite a spread around the world, and we were just amazed by the response. And it just shows you how football fans, football fans are amazing, and I don't think people that live out with football don't appreciate that that what people do for their club. As you say, Scott, your association with us is mostly been on Twitter, mostly been on social media, but you felt there was an association there with Stenhousemuir Football Club, and when we needed you've came forward and bought a share. But so many other people did that as well. So football fans are amazing, and we were absolutely blown away. And that £26,000, it probably helped recover some of the loss in that first month. That first month, we lost 3 home games between now and the end, or between the closure, the suspension of football, and the end of the season. And that share issue alone probably helped us recover the majority of our loss for those 3 home games. Now we've lost other monies, we're still continuing to lose money, but that initial help, was huge for us, absolutely huge. So thank you, Scott, and thank you to everyone else that bought shares.
No, good. I hope that it brings, like you say, more visibility, and that's what makes it all more sad about what happened to Bury as well. The fact that if stuff would have been like this, the football community, and I don't care what anyone says, no one wanted to see Bury go. No one wants to see any football club go out, and the fact that especially like in the Scottish, first maybe anywhere outside Celtic and Rangers probably need all the help they can get, really, because we know that. Obviously because of the size and whatnot. So I think that's amazing. I just love the fact that some kid in Brazil is going Stenhousemuir on the back, like on the beach while everyone's wearing Ronaldinho, and you've got some kid with Stenhousemuir because his dad bought shares in it. I think that's brilliant. I mean, that's amazing, and I hope that the club, go for. I mean, I remember Scott. I actually do remember when we used to go out. We've been best mates for 12, 13 years, and we used to put Stenhousemuir on as accumulators, didn't we? And it honestly,
I'm sorry about that. Did we let you down a few times?
Yeah, Jamie, I think you owe us a fair bit of money, Jamie. I think that share money used to come to us.
Yeah, it always used to be Arsenal win, Liverpool win, Stenhousemuir let us down 4-0. You think, I'll never. And then the week after we go back and put it back on. Just a little bit of background on you, Jamie, because you've always been involved in football, haven't you? And I'm guessing Stenhousemuir was your club originally back in the day. Was that in your blood?
Actually, no. To be honest with you, I grew up not in the town of Stenhousemuir. I grew up in Falkirk. So no, I didn't grow up as a Stenhousemuir supporter. I've always been a Scotland fan. I'll be honest. Scotland. It's always been me that very few people probably say club before country. Country before club. I genuinely am someone who. The national team's always been my first focus, but I've always went into football. My dad, my granddad. My first interaction, my first time really being at Stenhousemuir was I'm just trying to think now. It would have been about 12 years ago now. I was at university and there was an opportunity I was coming to the end of university, and there was an opportunity to get involved in the academy side because I've been coaching. I've been developing my coaching as I went through university. I was doing sports management at university, and I felt, well, as a football fan, how do I keep myself involved in the game? I was still playing, but not at any great level. It was just more of a hobby. How do I get myself into football as a career? And so I started booking coaching courses through the Scottish FA. Attended a few and actually really quite enjoyed them. And I thought, well, this is maybe an opportunity to stay in the game in a meaningful capacity. And through the courses, I was given the opportunity to volunteer. So I volunteered and started doing some voluntary coaching. The same as probably most people when they start coaching. It's more just out of a passion for the game, and then before they know it, they're taking a team or they're heavily involved. So that was when it all started for me, and I started going through my coaching qualifications. And once I got to what in Scotland is called your children's level 4, it was back then, you are therefore got enough qualifications, or you've got the right level of qualification to coach at academy football. So I got offered the opportunity to come to Stenhousemuir, and it was under 11 academy team to be the head coach. So that was actually where I started at Stenhousemuir. So about 12 years ago, I would have been 22, just finished university, 21, 22, just finished university. So that was my first real involvement in the club. And now absolutely is my club. After 12 years, there's absolutely no doubt that is my club, and it will be now for forever, But certainly it wasn't from birth, so no.
Right. Okay. I mean, it must be for the academies as well. It must be so crucial for Scotland because the Celtic, and I remember Virgil van Dijk would talk about how when he got scouted. I mean, obviously, the good young players across Europe, maybe Celtic and Rangers can go in for them and bleed them a little bit through later on in the academy. But for you guys, getting them at 10, 11 years old and trying to nurture them, like you said, for the national team, because individually there is some decent players for Scotland, but they just can never seem to find that, rounded team, maybe management. You've been close a couple of times. So for you, are you more interested in trying to bleed that young talent to try and break through to Stenhousemuir? And then if a Celtic or Rangers come in for them, you obviously maybe you can't hold them back from maybe going there because maybe financially that's good for them, or they can get, maybe like Van Dijk going to Celtic, Southampton to Liverpool. It's all about platform. So for you, is it about believing them young kids into the teams and trying to get Stenhousemuir at least pushed to that next level, so that if you do work your way up into the leagues, you can attract the I say this loosely, better type of player to try and push for the next league, and then hopefully try and get as high as you can?
I suppose yes, to an extent. So we used to have an academy. We no longer do now. The Scottish FA, they've changed the academy structure a couple of times, probably as a result of the failure to qualify over a long number of years now for Scotland. So we have adapted the academy system twice in a meaningful way over the last 10, 12 years, where they made significant changes. Those changes made it very difficult for smaller clubs to sustain a really consistent academy that could produce top level players, because the costs associated are just too much for a club of our size. We were involved in a regional academy with Falkirk Football Club, where it was a joint venture between Falkirk, Stenhousemuir and Scottish FA. That also came to an end, and therefore we no longer have an academy. However, we do have a role to play, I believe, in Scottish football in terms of developing young players. We have a very extensive community programme, so from a grassroots point of view, we give lots of kids a chance to play football, and one or two of them will go and play professionally, whether it's with us or a bigger club. But what we also do is we try our best to attract good young loan players, and I think this is where our role really comes in terms of the if you like the grander scheme of Scottish football. We won't produce the player ourselves because we're a part-time, League One, League Two club. What we can do though is we can take a player from one of the senior clubs and give them 40
game time and
give them 40 games at our level, and they go back to the senior club in a far better way. And the club has had a number of players over the years that have actually went on that journey and have managed to go and play in the Scottish Premiership and so on. So we have managed to do that. We actually think that we need to be better at that as a club, and certainly from a Scottish football point of view, because we do have talent. Our national teams at younger age groups compete really well, but you've mentioned it, we've not had any success at a senior level for a long time. So our role is, can we help get these young players from any club, from in the senior, the Premiership? Can we take them, give them an opportunity to hopefully let them go back to their club and be a success at that club?
That's interesting. I wasn't sure about the academies. That's really interesting to clear that up. Sorry, Scott, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I can't bang on about the loan market enough, to be honest. Particularly for younger players. I was just going to ask about the loan market in Scotland. In terms of do you have any sort of scouting system? Do loan players get brought to you? Does the Celtic or Rangers come to you and say, we've got a younger player, do you fancy taking him on loan? Or do you go out and watch the younger teams of a Celtic or Rangers or Kilmarnock or whoever else, and then approach the bigger clubs?
I think in general, to answer your question, Scottish football, the strategy is not there, and this is one of the parts that I find frustrating, and we're trying to change it at Stenhousemuir. Is, in my opinion, most of recruitment at the lower levels in particular, but even all the way up to certain clubs, maybe Championship and so on, is just simply done of who players who you know and friends who you have in the game. For me, that's not the right way to go about it. There needs to be a far more robust strategy than that. So what we have now got scouts. We have got scouts out watching games, obviously not just now, but we did have scouts out watching games before the crisis. And what we try and do there is watch clubs from leagues below us, so the Lowland League, for example, East of Scotland League, but also watch the reserve matches of the senior clubs, the Scottish Premiership clubs. So we try to go to a Celtic or a Rangers or a Hearts or a Hibs or a St Mirren or whoever with a little bit of evidence that we've been there, or, reports we've built up on the player, we've got a knowledge of the player. We don't just go and say who have you got, just give us a player, because that's wrong. It's not right for the player, his development. It's not right for the lending club, because they're not going to get everything they need out of the agreement, and it's certainly not right for us either. So we try and go with a clear idea of who we want, why we want the player in terms of the role he's going to play in the squad, in the team, and we'll go not as a squad player. We approach the Premiership clubs with the idea of bringing this player in as a starting player, and I think that's the key part. The loan market is used far too often to fill squads.
Absolutely.
To just build numbers up, and that does any favours.
I will say, Jamie, if you're looking for a 30 and 32-year-old in the prime of their life, I tell you now, you won't look any further. we're still trying to make it, all these years. Talking about Celtic then and that. Obviously, they've been crowned champions. I just want to get your view on that because it's obviously Rangers. We know Steven Gerrard had issues about it. We know that Hearts? They're thinking about taking legal action now. I mean, realistically, we don't know what's going to happen with coronavirus. We don't know when it's, I think players have been going back to training or they've been told in the Premier League, but they've had 6 confirmed cases. I still think it's in the air. German Bundesliga went back. Have Scotland done the right thing? Celtic were probably going to win it. What's your thoughts on just giving the title to them and ending the season?
So first of all, is it the right decision? I think yes, because of where we are. It's not a pleasing option for football, because football should be played on the park, absolutely. But what we had to look at, so Scottish, just to give a little bit of context, the 42 clubs in Scotland voted about a month ago on the decision on what was going to happen with the leagues. So the way that the SPFL presented what they felt was the only viable option, which was, we're not going to finish football. It's not going to be possible to finish football. The kind of other options of a null and void season create huge problems as well for who do you put forward to the Champions League, who do you put forward to Europa League. Do you owe all your broadcast and sponsorship money back because you've effectively said the season didn't happen? Do you have to pay back all your season ticket money and all the rest of it? So the null and void part was probably not really an option, and it really leaves you with 2 options: hold out and try and finish the season at some point in the probably for me months down the line, or finish the season on some form of points basis. So the SPFL presented what they felt was the best option. It was probably the best of a bad bunch, and 81% of clubs, including ourselves, voted in favour of it. Now, what I would say is we were unanimous it was the right thing to do as a club. So our board said, yes, this is the only option we've got currently. So it automatically ended the 3 lower leagues, League 1, League 2 and the Championship, all finished a few weeks ago. So we've been clear for a while on what the outcome was for us as a club in our league. The Premiership held off because they wanted to work with UEFA and see, is there a possibility of playing the season? What's UEFA's thoughts on different permutations?
There's such a knock-on effect, isn't there? There's such a knock-on effect with all this. And we were talking about this with the Europa League, Champions League. If they null and void a season, but if they're still in the Champions League, how does that work? For the payments then for you guys, obviously voting to finish the season, I'm guessing that's good for you because then you'll still get your payment next year, or is that now? I mean, obviously you'll get some sort of payment for staying in the league. Is that correct? Is that how it'll work for you guys then?
Yeah, so it's all just on your placing. So we're effectively Club 40 of 42 clubs.
Okay.
I'll be honest, this is one of the parts of the Scottish media. You won't probably see too much of the Scottish media, but they painted it as this was the reason that clubs voted yes, because they had to get the money in. Actually, for us, the money was very small, and it was money we were already going to get. So we got 2 payments that totaled about £9,000. That's all it was. But that was money we were already getting. So we've already had that in our cash flow. We've already had it in our budget. All we've done was move it forward a few weeks.
Fair play.
That was not our reason for voting. We just felt that it was probably the best option. What I would say from a personal point of view is, I think it's incredibly harsh on the 3 relegated clubs. So Hearts, Partick Thistle and Stranraer have all been relegated. My own personal thought process on that is, if it was up to me, we would have restructured the leagues to avoid relegation, because I don't think it's fair. I think there's a difference between handing out a title, because the ramifications to the club in second are not quite as drastic as a club getting relegated out of a league. Any club that, if you take Hearts as an example, because Hearts is a big club in Scotland, and they're now facing dropping into the Championship. The difference for them on how they budget and how they operate as a club is absolutely
huge.
It's like dropping out the English Premiership, you know.
Yeah.
If you relegate the 3 teams at the bottom of the English Premiership just now, they would all have severe worries about their club because of, you know, the difference in cash and income and so on. So I must say, I do really feel for the 3 relegated clubs. From a title point of view, out of the 4 clubs, Cove Rangers in our league were well ahead and were very likely to win the league.
Yeah.
In the Championship, Dundee United were a long way ahead and were, you know, very much likely to win it. Celtic were quite a long way ahead and were very much likely to win it. But there was League One. There was only 1 point between first and second, between Raith Rovers and Falkirk. So for me, the real losers in this are probably the 3 relegated clubs and Falkirk, who actually finished second by a point. And therefore, you know, that's the clubs that I think have got a real justifiable gripe, if you want to call it that. Not really so much, I'll be honest, not really so much Rangers, because, you know, ultimately the SPFL had to make a decision. They had to come to some form of conclusion.
And we were saying as well, weren't we? You're always going to upset someone. Yeah. I mean, it's the word that you've heard in every news. It's unprecedented times. We know that someone's just going to be miffed off with one decision. I mean, we're Leeds fans, of course, it's riding on us. We've been top, but we're not super clear. You know, Fulham can. I mean, there's just going to be a knock-on effect all around. Just going forward then for you guys, because I know we've only got 10 minutes left. The recovery of the club after all this has started. How does it work then, like with you guys for sponsorships and stuff? How do you get all that extra cash you can get into the pot to try and take that club, even if it is 2 or 3 grand extra? What's the thought process of going forward to try and get Stenhousemuir the sponsorships and commercial rights to try and get, you know, into a better position?
Yeah, so all up in the air at the moment, unfortunately. We had a very solid 3-year plan that we created last year, and we were working away to that. We'd achieved growth in a number of areas. We'd grown our whole commercial budget. We managed to grow that in every single department, from sponsorship, advertising, hospitality. We grew our fan base with more season tickets this year. We had so overall the club was actually growing in a really positive way the last couple of years. And this has obviously put a huge question mark over every single income area of the club. Right away.
Does it put a question mark in it the longer that we're in lockdown as well? But if we can get the footballs played, I mean, obviously the gate receipt. So if they say to you, you know what, you can play football again in September, August, but there's no fans. What's that gap then? You think, well, great that we're playing.
I think the lower you are in the football pyramid, the more you rely on your match the income, which is gate receipts, hospitality, programme, 50-50 money, your catering, your bar money. So we are probably more affected by no supporters than bigger clubs, because their budgets will be more reflective of TV money and sponsorship.
Of course, yeah. Liverpool, Manchester United, they're going to be fine. Even if it was for 2 years behind closed doors, they could do it because of the commercial aspect.
Absolutely, you know, and so Scottish football does rely on its supporters a lot. We as a club, if we're asked to go back and play football for a season behind closed doors with no support at all, so we're not allowed to have any supporters in the ground, so we lose all our income. And if there's no ongoing government, the government support's been great up to this point. You know, we have used the furlough scheme, for example, to ensure our club survives. If all that stops, which it's likely to at some point, or certainly it's already starting to, I think August is starting to change, we as a club would not be able to operate for a season with no supporters. We just simply did not do that, because then you've got a cost of 20 players approximately, plus all your management team, your coaches, your physios and so on, and you've no income. So nobody
wants to see that. Nobody wants to see this, and and this is, I mean, that's the thing, nobody else says. Sorry, Scott, go on.
I was just going to touch on, I know you said that you've got like a 3-year plan going forward. Has the disappointment of this season affected your plans, say for next season, if there is any football? I know that you said the ultimate aim was promotion this season. Would that be then the ultimate aim next season? Has this season changed next season's aims?
Yeah, we were in a good position as long as we survived this year, which we just had to accept was a disappointing season. The club was in good health. We'd worked very hard we retained money, played Aberdeen last year in the Scottish Cup, and we retained some of that money as a reserve, which was a sensible thing to do, but it gave us a reserve, which a lot of clubs don't have. We worked hard to grow all commercial aspects of the club, so we were in a very good place. If COVID-19 wasn't here, we'd be going ahead into this pre-season, again looking to see if we can really put together a strong budget with our new management team who have done well since they came in, with our scouting team. Our plan was absolutely to go and to really have a right go at winning the league next year. Now, of course, we want to still try and win the league next year, but the whole situation means that we can't just simply blindly go and throw money at trying to win a league. If we know as a business that we are going to hit a point where we run out of money because there's no supporters, then we need to approach next season differently. We simply can't approach it with our normal aim of let's recruit the best possible players we can, because that's when you're doing it in a normal situation with guaranteed income, or certainly forecast income. If we are forecasting no income, it's be very hard for us to decide on how we recruit our team for next year, still wanting to win the league, but at the same time not wanting to put the business under any real pressure.
How hard is it to win? Obviously, this sounds really silly. How hard is it to win the league? Obviously, it's very hard, but the difference, with the money aspects and stuff like that. Going for the league, is it quite possible that you guys could put a run together with a couple of new recruits and actually go and win the league? And if so, the jump to the next league financially, obviously, again, it's a lovely jump, but is it a really good jump, or wow, this is more money? And we can even invest heavily, in this section, or do you just have a pot of money that is spread out? Or if you jump up another league, we think, right, well, we'll go into maybe trying to get them loan players for a bit more money to then even try and push again. How does that work?
Yeah, so in terms of, is it hard to win a league? Stenhousemuir were founded in 1884. And they've never won a league. So not impossible to tell you that as a club, we've not been particularly good at winning leagues. To never manage it in our history. It is hard to win a league, of course it is. We got promoted 2 years ago via the playoffs. Leeds have obviously been involved in playoffs and not particularly conclusion. We actually we finished 4th in the league 2 years ago, and we won the semi-final, won the final, and it was tremendous. It was absolutely fantastic. The whole experience, from my own personal point of view, for the whole club, was magnificent. But we got up, and I'll be honest, we probably weren't ready. And you can probably think of clubs over the years that have achieved promotion and came straight back down, because for me to go up into another league, we had to build a more solid foundation across the whole club and grow the club. We went up and we probably had the lowest budget in the league. So if you've got the lowest budget in the league, it doesn't always happen, but there's a chance you're going to finish bottom or very close to the bottom. As it happened, we finished second bottom and we got relegated via the playoffs. So there's not a huge jump between League 1 and League 2 in Scotland, but there's enough of a jump that if you go up and you're not ready, it's like in any league, if you can't back the manager and get a really good summer recruitment in, then you're up against it. Because those clubs are already in the league, they're established in the league, and they've got their players already. You're trying to improve your squad, but you're trying to do it sometimes with a smaller budget. So it's tough.
Well, Jamie, it's been fascinating talking to you, mate. It's been really, really good. Unfortunately, we are out of time, but thank you so much. Great insight. Please check Stenhousemuir out, because they are obviously a top club. You're a top guy. Really looking forward to speaking to you in the future. This has been great. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
Thank you, Jamie.
No problem. It's been a pleasure, and all the best to Leeds, whatever happens. Yes. All the best.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
See you later, Jamie. Thank you very much, mate.